Silk 106.9.
Shall we get straight into it then? So episode 2 of Silk Sports Friday Night Football Club with Mike and Scotty. And to be fair, Scott, what a week it's been. I'm exhausted and we're only 2 games into the season.
You know, I was doing the prep for this, and then when I got to page 7, I just realised how much stuff has actually gone on since we last spoke.
It's unbelievable, mate. I mean, if we start with Saturday then and work from Saturday to today, there's only one place we can start. We're both Silkman fans, and it was the first ever game of the brand new Maxfield FC Football Club. Danny Whitaker's first game as actual manager. I was talking to Danny Saturday night. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But it's the first time he's led a team out as the actual manager, not caretaker. Rob Smethurst, brand new owner, saved the club. Robbie Savage is the brand. He is the director of football. They got their walkout onto the pitch. And I think the emotion before... Were you at the game on Saturday?
Yeah, I was there on Saturday. I was there on Saturday and Tuesday.
Right. So I'm quite interested then, because I would like you to tell me... I was obviously on air Saturday. I was talking to Richard. We were building the hype. But what was it like being in the ground?
Honestly, and it sounds really corny, but it actually felt quite special. It was such a good occasion. Everyone was really up for it. You know, the first time we've seen a competitive game at Mackin, I don't know when. I think it was
19 days.
Oh wow! I think it was it Salford the last home game? Yes.
Yeah.
But just going back from then to where we are now, it was just amazing. There was such a feel good factor at the club, and you know the expectation obviously is that we want to win the league, and I think people's expectations may kind of outweigh the actual reality of it all. But it was just a great day, and it was just great just to see them out there. Smethurst and Savage, all that were on the pitch before the game, and typical that the actual announcer thing didn't work, so they had to run in the police box, and so they could actually. And then Savage was like shouting down the police tannoy or whatever they call it in there. But no, it was a great occasion. It really was.
And you know what I mean? I'm laughing at that bit because I spoke to Robbie Savage earlier on this week, and Robbie was telling me about how him and Rob Smethurst were texting each other all Friday night. Neither of them went to bed early. They were both in the ground at some ungodly hour. And everything ran to perfection, from the players turn up, the pre-match meal, the walk on the pitch, and then the microphone let them down. And I couldn't help but giggle. Something had to go wrong. It was a microphone.
Yeah. I think those the tannoys and everything. I think it's a new system they put in, and I think the ironing out the kinks on that. But do you know what? It didn't stop the day being great. I just seen the footballer side, and the pitch was just, it's the only time I've seen really that kind of pitch was Buxton pre-season to play on our home turf, and it just looked like the ball was just gliding around. It's going to be playing some good football on there, I think, this season. That's what those kind of pitches will work for.
Definitely. And I think, you know what's crazy about the situation is we had 2,180 fans get behind the Silkman. And all credit to Burscough. They came and they performed. And a lot of people would argue that Burscough deserves something out of the game. But for me, Danny Whitaker almost wrote his name perfectly in the stars after about 6 minutes when he went through, fluffed his lines.
Yeah, absolutely. That would have been absolutely amazing. The first goal for the club ever competitively being Danny Whitaker. But yeah, of course, unfortunately, there were a few players that were out due to COVID and, having to isolate and a couple of injuries. And so in the end, it was Danny that started, which was, a surprise. And we had a very few that was actually on the bench. But, all in all, yes, Burscough were very unlucky not to take something from the game. But I think it was written in the stars that our first ever game had to be a win.
Absolutely. And the man that writes his name in the stars is Leon Arnarsalan, I believe it's pronounced. And I think from the reports I got at the weekend, and you can vouch for this, he was a standout performer, not even including the goal. He was a standout performer. It's a great ball across their back line, and he couldn't really miss, could he?
No, and I think the thing is, with a player like Leon, yes, he's a really good player. Players are going to be targeted at him like there's no tomorrow. He got targeted on Saturday, he got targeted on Tuesday. He is the guy that people want to take out of the game because he's going to make things happen.
And this is the thing. Every game that Mac play, I was speaking to Danny Whitaker on Saturday night, and he was saying he was pleased with the the attitude of the players. He was pleased with the performance. He knows they can perform better because we've seen it in pre-season, but he also knows that every single side we play against, it's going to be a cup final. So players like Leon Arsalan, Eddie Maiko, one of the players that was missing at the weekend, he is going to make a difference. People will target him. Danny Whitaker, let's be honest, as somebody who was playing against Macclesfield FC or Macclesfield Town at the time, Danny Witts is a professional footballer. Who wouldn't want to give him a kick? Do you know what I mean? Robbie Savage said to me earlier, these are the type of players that he played against, the Robbie Keanes, the Patrick Vieiras. He knew he'd got to make a name for himself and get stuck in. And this is how our season's going to be. But a 1-0 win. What was the atmosphere like when the goal went in?
Oh, it was great. It was just, it was just, I think there was an essence of, we're back, we're going to have a good season. And it was just that, it was just delight all the way around the ground. It was great to see.
And obviously a 1-0 win in the first game of the season. It's always great to get the points on the board. For me, though, as we look through the Northwest Counties results, the standout result for me was Charnock Richard. We didn't necessarily call this last week either, did we?
No, it kind of went a bit. To be fair to Winsford, they did have their issues during the game, which they lost their goalkeeper, and then they had two outfield players end up filling in goal. But overall, I think 5-1 was. I don't think that was written in the stars. No,
and like you say, goalkeeper, I think Mike Langley is his name. I think he was the one.
Yeah, that's right.
Injured. Join, I'm just checking now. Yeah, Mike Langley was injured. Obviously, outfield players going goal never really works in your favour. And I think this was probably an unfair analysis in preparation for when we come on to the midweek games. And obviously, Mac were Winsford's opponents. But Northwich Victoria and Congleton, two of the Silk Sport sides, great start from both, mate.
I think the Northwich Victoria was a statement of intent, to be honest. 4-0 away and a hat-trick by Bradley Lynch as well. I think Northwich are going to have a really good season.
Absolutely, yeah. Stevie Wilkes has got a fine-tuned, instrument with Northwich Vics. And I think Congleton, I was talking, I think I've mentioned this to you as well, Scott, that for me, Congleton, I think and again, we're only 2 games in, we can't get carried away. I think Congleton are the side to watch. And I say that based on the fact you've got Richard Duffy at centre-half, Gary Roberts in midfield, Tom Pope up front. The spine of their side is awesome. And a 1-0 win at Longridge, that is no easy feat.
No. It went perfect for them. Obviously, Gary Roberts and Pope both started on Saturday. I think it was Jordan Johnson who got the goal for the Bears. But 1-0 away, because that was your pick for the weekend. Wasn't sure which way it was going to go. And it's great to see It's great to see guys like Congleton win in the Vics. I don't know. It's just because they're quite local. We've been following them really for a number of years. So it was nice that they came out with first day victories.
Absolutely. And then you look at the other games. Avro, big win. 2 goals for Louis Potts. Kane Warwick also scoring. You've got Lowbreck, who came into the league, obviously with the reshuffle with a 1-0 win at Squires Gate. Barnoldswick beating Runcorn Town. Didn't see that one happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I know very little about Barnoldswick Town, to be honest. They're probably the team that's least on my radar. But certainly one to look at. Personally, for me, Wythenshawe Town, first time in the league, so they got promoted based on their results from the last 2 abandoned seasons. So, they got a penalty victory and they got all 3 points. So fantastic for them away at Ashton Athletic.
Yeah, another big result. And the one that we were interested to see was the Vauxhall Motors and AFC Liverpool game, which went Liverpool's way.
Yeah. 2, a goal either side of courtesy of a goal either side by Dan Cockerline. Joey Heath put Vauxhall Motors ahead. But then, 2 goals from AFC Liverpool. So it's interesting. I don't really know which way to go on AFC Liverpool because they've got Liverpool in the name. And I'm sure they're going to do okay this season. But will they live up to the name? It's kind of one of them. They're kind of expected to do well because they're Liverpool.
Exactly. And this is the thing. When we come on to, obviously, the midweek results, things have obviously changed. But if you look at some of our other local sides in the Northwest Counties Leagues, Alsager lost their opening game 2-1 to Didsbury and Chorlton. Sandbach got off to a winning start with a 3-1 win. So good results for the local side. So we've got Congleton winning, Mac winning, Northwich Vics winning. We've got Sandbach winning, just Alsager that slipped up this weekend. But as we know, and we can come on to now, midweek changes everything in the Northwest Counties, mate.
Midweek was a little bit crazy, right?
Oh,
And then that's an
crazy is the
understatement.
polite word.
Do you know the best thing about Mac? I mean, let's be honest. You know, Mac having 2,000 odd fans on Saturday was by far the highest attendance. I think the next one down was like 200 and something.
Yeah, I think
One
it was 287 at Prestwich.
Yeah, I think Squires Gate, I think there was only about 75 of that game. So I think we underestimate actually, how little supported some of these teams are. The fact that Mac are going to go to places like they did to Winsford, ended up with like a 900 or so attendance is massive for teams like Winsford, just to get money behind just get money in the coffers, as they say.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's great. And what it was great. It was such a, because I didn't know what to expect, and it was a proper non-league affair. It was beautifully non-league. I think I described the game on Tuesday night. We're all kind of around a big barrier around the pitch, proper old school. No real, just a little bit of seating, but yeah. But it was, I don't know, had a nice, friendly welcome to it. They had a great clubhouse as well. It was just, I don't know, there was something really nice about it, really friendly, and just, you could get used to going to grounds like Winsford.
Yeah. And I think this is why we love non-league football. That's the reason clubs like Winsford are the reason we were speaking about doing this podcast, because these are the bones of grassroots football. And for them to see 1,000 odd Mac fans turn up at Winsford at £7 a pop, then you're going into the bar, you're having a pie, you're having a pint. The photos on social media were phenomenal. It looked great. The result itself didn't go the way we expected, because after 7 minutes, we're 2-0 up, and I'm thinking, this is where Mac FC go on an absolute rout.
I mean, we were chanting we're going to win the league at that point, which was a little, let's be honest, we got a little bit excited. A little bit premature. But yeah, I mean, the Winsford scored their second through. It was a mistake really from Pearce, who tried to head the ball away. It didn't quite work. And then I think it was Bowden that scored the equaliser. And then I think with Boland draw, I think Boland got a couple of goals in that game. Yeah. I might be wrong on that one. But yeah, it was. I mean, at no point were we trailing, but there were certainly gaps in the defence. But Duckworth for Winsford was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and he's a player that I've heard rumours that Mac have looked at. Not from the club. This is just speculation, but I've heard rumours that he was a player that was being looked at by the Siltman during pre-season. I don't know the facts, but that's what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, he knows where the net is. He did an assist as well. So yeah, I mean, Duckworth's a great player, but you can't fault Tom Clare. 4 goals, 1 penalty, 1 put in after a missed penalty. But yeah, it was. I think this is what I wanted to see from Tom Clare on Saturday. I wanted, he's a big player. He's got that target man-esque about him, but he's also got some pace, and he can muscle his way through the defence. And he did that for me really well on Tuesday night.
And the thing is, players like Tom Clare will be the difference maker between a side that does win the league and doesn't. My concern with Maxford FC is, after I was thinking this when I was talking to Richard Patrick on Tuesday night, and one of my concerns is not with scoring goals and going forward, because I think offensively we look superb. We miss some chances. We need to be more clinical. But defensively, where are the leaders? Because Danny Whitaker was in the side at the weekend when Bursko probably should have got a result. I would suggest that not just Danny Whitaker, but his experience coached and educated the team through. It's a young side. Tuesday night at Winsford, it kind of went a bit pear-shaped. Where's the leader in that back line? Because Kieran Kennedy's not been playing.
No, I think I heard somewhere Kennedy got a hip injury. I could be wrong on that. That's just hearsay more than anything else. Yeah. For me, it needs someone to control the game a little bit. It needs someone to calm it down, pace it a little bit. It all seemed a bit, you're right. There wasn't a leader. I've not seen a captain yet kind of come through. But yeah, it definitely needs someone to calm that midfield. A holding midfield would be perfect. But, we need a little bit of experience. I think, we've got such a young line. I think, I think Coker's he's 18, 19 years old. We've got Rocco that's come on. He played because instead of, I think he came on when Leon went off, and we just got a really young squad. And I think sometimes you just need that little bit of experience. Because let's be honest, again, some of these players, you don't know the reason. They've been together for a short amount of time. They just need someone in their ears just to slow it down a little bit, because as you saw by the scoreline, it was a little bit all over the place.
I think it's one of those games that I was sat at home. Obviously, I'm covering a breakfast show at the moment, so I wasn't able to be there, frustratingly. But getting the messages, we're 2-0 up, we're 2-2, we're 3-2 up, we're 3-3, we're 4-3 up, we're 4-4. Both sides are going for it. I was sat at home doing laps of the living room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it was a game that you needed to be at to enjoy it.
It was. It got to a point where it was like, because there was a big scrap as well,
Right.
kind of during the game, and it was just beautifully non-league. It was if the games this season were kind of that entertaining, maybe not letting in 4 goals, but we're scoring 4 goals away from home and we're not winning the game. It says to me that something from midfield backwards needs to be sorted. Don't blame the goalkeeper at all. Pearce is still, a decent goalkeeper. I don't really blame him apart from the first goal. Maybe it was his fault, inexperience, but yeah, certainly needs experience in the back line and certainly someone to control the midfield and lead the team a little bit. I don't know who that's going to be at this point, though. For me, there's still no standout captain. I think that's really important. We need a spine. Look at Congleton. Congleton have a spine.
Yeah. And I think this is crucial. From speaking to Robbie Savage earlier, the club have reacted to their assessment of the first 2 games. I understand that 3 new signings will be in the club tomorrow. One's waiting clearance. I don't know who he is, but I'm sure we'll get that soon. But if you look at the other games, Congleton continued bounce after bounce. 3-0 win away at Earlham. Gary Roberts and Tom Pope both on the score sheet this time. Aaron John hitting one as well. By all accounts, it could have been a few more.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's still great to see, Congleton. I think Congleton are going to be up there. I think the Vics are going to be up there. I don't think Winsford are going to have a bad season. I don't know how they're going to go, to be honest. They're the ones that I'm not, they've not had a great few seasons. But if Macca's scoring 4 goals and we're getting goals, then we're going to be competitive. I'm not saying we're going to go win the league, but that's the aim, of course. But if if we can score 4 goals in a game away from home, then we have the ability to be up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the surprise result of the week was Northwich Vics for me. 2 goals in 2 minutes from, I think, Schofield and Matty Birchall. Matty Birchall, by the way, is an absolute talent. Wait till you see him play. He'll have a field day at the leasing.com because it will just suit his game. But they're 2-0 up. And then they draw 2-2 with Avro. I haven't spoke to Steve Wilkes yet, but I think he'll be a little bit cheesed off.
Yeah, it's a game I think Northwich probably would have expected to win. And very similar to Mac, they went in the game, went firing straight away, 2 goals, 2 minutes. And then, Avro, I think, got one back in the 20th minute, and then they got a penalty second half. And then, that was it. So it ended up with a draw. But I think the Vics would have expected to win that kind of game.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Longridge bouncing back with a 2-1 win then at Skelmersdale. Withenshaw, you mentioned earlier, 2 wins on the bounce, 2-1-0.
I know.
Padiham. I thought Padiham would be a decent side this year because they always look strong.
Another team that's not really on my radar, but Withenshaw, if they're just getting 1-0s and that's the way they play it, I don't know how they're playing, but they're in a brand new league and they're obviously making strides and trying to get as high up as possible as soon as.
Absolutely, and then obviously Runcorn Town defeating the first game of the weekend, beating Litherland. For me, and this is going to sound really awful, and I apologise to Litherland fans, but Litherland, they're the whipping boys of the league, I think. I think they're going to be one of those sides that may well struggle. But for me, the situation we need to be aware of. So Macclesfield FC have picked up 4 points from 6. They've scored 5 goals. They've conceded 4. As you've rightly said, I think from a coaching perspective, there's some work needs to be done defensively, which I'm sure they'll do in training. But Burscough, 3-1 winners midweek against Ashton Athletic. They put on a good display at the leasing.com. They've obviously put a good result in midweek. And this weekend, it's what football fans dream for. This is what we want. It's the Emirates FA Cup. It's the preliminary round. We've got Longridge entertaining Northwich Victoria. Mac play Burscough. We've played 3 games at this standard since we've been reborn. And we've only played 2 sides after the weekend.
Yeah, likewise, Winsford, who opened their season with Charnock Richard, are playing Charnock Richard at home in the FA Cup. And this is the extra preliminary round. We're not even at the preliminary round stage yet. This is the extra preliminary round. And I think quite a lot of us are probably very unaware of this level of, being in the FA Cup because we're so used with that being in the 4th qualifying round, the first round proper. It just goes to show the teams that do end up from this level who get to the first round proper absolutely go through a bunch of games to get there.
Absolutely grueling.
I mean, to get to the first round proper, I think would be an achievement. That's surely the aim. I think there's about 6 games between starting this game and the first round. But But we showed on last Saturday that we have it against Burscough. We showed it against Winsford that we can score goals. There's no reason we can't do the same thing again on Saturday.
Yeah, and I know Robbie Savage has set Danny Whitaker the challenge of getting to the first round proper. He also wants to win the FA Cup, he wants to win the FA Bars, and he wants to win the league. So he's not asking for much. But like you said, it's a grueler. And you look at Marine last year, Marine getting into was it the third round that Marine got?
Yes, I believe.
They played 10 games to get there.
Yeah. I think they were playing when other people had stopped playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Northwest Counties then this week has been a little bit of a crazy one. It's been a great start. We have been gagging. I can't put it in any other words. We've been gagging for football to come back to leasing.com. We've got it.
Yeah.
We've experienced the highs, the lows, the frustrations, the scrapping, the joy. But then the results in the league, things aren't taking shape yet because obviously it's still very early doors. I'm not concerned as a Mac fan. Are you?
No, it's one of them. Come December, come Christmas, and if we're languishing in mid-table, I'd be a bit worried. But after 2 games, it's we're settling in. We're taking shape. Obviously, we're going to get some new signings in. You say as of tomorrow, but when this comes out, that will be today. There we go. That's a bit confusing for you. And then I just think you don't know where it's going to go with these. We've got a young lad there. I think it was Sheed has come in the club now as well. Tom Sheed, only 18 years old. We've got BTEC student Tyler James that's now signed a contract. So you don't know where we're going to be. I think the thing we're so used to is having transfer windows, but in this league, players are going to be leaving, players are going to come back in. So it's going to be, we're going to change the team quite a lot between now and the end of the season. So I think it's just enjoy the ride a little bit at the minute and just go with it.
And that's it. And the most important thing is to enjoy the journey that we're on. Just looking at the FA Cup games then this weekend. So 3:00 kickoffs, Ashton Athletic, Squires Gate. You've got Athersley Recreation and Campion. You've got Barnolds, Wickham, Runcorn, Earlham, Albion Sport, Longridge and Northwich Victoria. Lower Breck take on Penistone Church from Yorkshire. Maxfield have obviously got Burscough, Padiham AFC Liverpool, Prestwich Hayes and Litherland. Thackley against Withenshaw, which is a game that 1874 Northwich are watching because they will play the winners of that. Vauxhall Motors take on Skelmersdale, who again had a great run in the competitions last season. West Disbury and Chorlton versus Avro, and Winsford versus Charnock Richard on Saturday. Congleton travel to Emley on Sunday. How do you see that one going? Because Emley are no mugs, are they?
No, I think Congleton have enough about them though to get past Emley.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm expecting. I don't know why, because I feel like I've got to sit on a fence because of my role as the sports presenter. But as a Mac fan, Congleton worry me.
Yeah, I think the difference with Congleton is that they know this league. They've kind of built up time to get their squad together, to get that spine together. They've made a couple of high-profile signings, which we haven't really done yet. We've signed a good team, but we've signed very much a Northwest Counties team. I'm not sure we've not signed any big names or anything which goes, wow, he's going to do really good in this league yet. Nothing. I mean, Tom Clare, don't get me wrong, we've got some great players, but we've not got that Tom Pope or Gary Roberts that Congleton have. You think, wow, he could do that. I mean, when we signed Kennedy, it was like, oh, why is he signing for us kind of thing. But, I think outside of Kennedy, there's no other player like that. And, I think that's what Mike need, a couple of those players to contend a little bit more. Because I think Congleton will be the real deal this season.
Yeah, couldn't agree anymore. And like you say, Congletons, the Northwich Victorias, the Longridges, these sides have been together for years, so they've built their side over years. But let's turn attention then to the Cheshire Football League, which also starts at the weekend. 0-0 draw for Billinge and Altrincham FC. Broadheath with a 3-0 win over Middlewich.
Yes, a bad day. 2 goals from Reese Thompson, and then Dylan Scanlon got 3 points to Broadheath. It's early days. A lot. Again, this is very much like the Northwest Counties, but obviously a little bit lower down. So I think after not playing for so long, I think some of these teams that you'd expect to pick up results, you'd kind of forgive because some haven't really been played long. They played like a pre-season style cup to keep them fit, keep them going, but yeah, they've not played football really in the Cheshire Football League for a while now.
No, and I think to be fair, like you say, this pre-season friendly cup type scenario, I think it's happened across a lot of the leagues, and it's just been an extension of pre-season. Other results in the league: St Helens winning 2-1 at Edgerton, Callum Leonard scoring the winner for St Helens. Knutsford got a spanking, mate.
I know.
5-0.
Knutsford are usually the ones that I put quite high up in there and
Yeah.
usually do okay. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Knutsford, but that's certainly one they didn't expect, I'm sure.
And obviously, as you go into like midweek, then Congleton Town's reserves defeat in the opening game of the season. Congleton's reserves have got a good young side. I think for me, my opinion on Congleton's reserves is that it's a young squad. It's a building process that with time they'll be good.
They're doing what basically MAC reserves are doing,
Yeah.
having a young squad in the reserves with the aim to get them into the first team, and that's what the reserve league really should be all about.
Absolutely. And then obviously other games in midweek, Eagle Sports with a 3-1 win at Dayton, Whaley Bridge losing 1-0 to Broad Central, Knowlesley with a 2-0 win, and Winstanley Warriors and Poynton postponed. Do we know anything about that? Is that COVID related, would we assume, or couldn't be weather?
I mean, it might be COVID related. I'm not really sure what went on there. That would have been a good thing to look at before I recorded this, right?
Well, this is the thing. This is why I like doing a podcast, mate, because in fairness, we should have all this knowledge absorbed and talk like we're professionals. But as we've said before, mate, this podcast is two friends talking about something they love and trying to give the sides in Cheshire, the grassroots team which get forgotten, to give them a voice.
Yeah.
And that is what we will do. And if we bodge it on the way, so be it.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is a nice little tasty game coming up in before we get to the other Cheshire leagues for this Saturday's fixtures. It's Knutsford versus Poynton. Now they've got a nice little rivalry with players from Poynton going over to Knutsford, so they've had a bit of a rivalry. Ed Haslam was one of the ones who did that.
All right, we'll come on to it in a minute.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying that did the Poynton manager go to Knutsford, or did he go somewhere else?
The Poynton manager from last season's gone to Cheadle Heath Nomads.
That's it. I knew the Poynton manager had gone.
But the history is that Knutsford kind of get some of the good players from Poynton because it's so local, Poynton, Knutsford anyway. So there's a little bit of a rivalry there going on. So that's always an interesting game. But, Poynton have yet to play yet. Knutsford obviously got tanked 5-0.
Yeah.
I don't know what's Poynton were quite poor last season for whatever reason. They were certainly trying to get some players in, but didn't quite work for John Hudson. Obviously now he was reserve team manager the season before, got promoted to first team, and I think it's just difficult as well because COVID exists, and it's just, I think, to get, especially at this level, a team together and have time to play regularly when restrictions were so not allowing even people to play sport outside. I think we can forgive some of these teams for not quite being in match shape.
And I think the thing is, mate, with this season, as we go through it, I think we'll find that we'll have probably 5 or 6 or 7 different teams sitting on the top of the league in the relegation zone. Sides like Knutsford get beat 5-0, then go out and win 3-0 at the weekend, and then go on a run for 6 games of wins and then get hammered for 3. I just think it's going to be one of those games because, as you said, COVID's not necessarily crippled the Premier League sides, League One, League Twos. It has damaged them because obviously they've got bigger expenses. But sides that play in the Cheshire Football League, your Poyntons, your Broadheaths, your Garlams and Poyntons and these local sides, they pay subs.
Yeah.
They generate sponsorship to get tracksuits and kit. And when the businesses that sponsor them are closed and they can't get kit, it's kind of, they're left behind. And this is what frustrates me about grassroots football, because for me, this is where the bigger sides have got to support the lower league sides. But as you say, I was asked earlier on a question about the barriers in football, about different individuals going from coaching at lower league level and going up the leagues. And you look at Bandy, obviously going from Glossop into Macclesfield. But there's always there's like a rotation of managers in the elite football. Sam Allardyce, if Patrick Vieira doesn't have a great start at Crystal Palace, for example, you'll hear Allardyce, Pardew, Chrissy Houghton, Steve Bruce if he gets sacked at Newcastle. It's always the same names.
Yeah.
And for me, the Cheshire Football League is the league in which we should be looking at, because occasionally you find a gem Leicester City got a gem from Fleetwood, from Halifax, in Jamie Vardy. There are
Yeah.
players in the Cheshire League that are that good.
Yeah.
They just need an opportunity. And I think that's why, for me, this podcast is all about inclusion of the Cheshire Football League, because you know better than I do, there's some phenomenal players, mate, in there.
Yeah, and I think it's really important as well. We should be celebrating these players very much like the women's game as well. We should be promoting the game and getting it on a similar level to the men's. And that's what we should do with these Cheshire Football League. We should try and get them up so people are talking about them, people notice. People could, go to a game and just, they follow them like a normal kind of team, because this isn't a Sunday. They're not Sunday league. They've got some talent about them.
Yeah.
Like Poynton, from my memory, they don't charge for you to go and watch them. Or at least they didn't anyway. And I don't believe the players were getting paid either. So it's a case of people enjoying themselves and playing the game they love, wanting to get attention. And for me, what's not to support about that? That's just, for me, that's what football is all about, isn't it?
Definitely. The thing is, to me, the Cheshire Football League is a shop window. That sounds bad when you think of the size that we're trying to help and support and promote in the Cheshire Football League. But this is a shop window for players. They don't charge you to get in. You might be able to get yourself a coffee or a pie. In a lot of them, if you want a drink, you take your own. You call at the local shop on the way in. And these players turn up week in, week out, and they probably take their own kit home and wash it. The manager turns up with the cones, the bags, the bottles, and everything on his shoulder. And these lads turn up for the love of the game. And I do think sometimes, mate, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think sometimes we forget that the reason we all go to football, play football, train for football is for one reason. We love it. It's not about money. It's because we love it, but money has taken over.
Yeah. And unfortunately, with Mac are probably likely to be up there due to money, not on skill. In any of the leagues, you can look exactly the same. The ones with the most money are going to be near the top, unless they have like a freak season and they end up doing really well. That money is a big hindrance in the women's game. Outside of the Women's Super League, you're talking £100 or so just to be able to get a coach, or just to. There's nothing in terms of any glamour. It's just people playing the game for fun.
Yeah,
playing the game because they love it. And
you're exactly right.
And it absolutely needs to be supported. And there's no reason why, for example, in Congleton Town Reserves, we hear about the Macclesfields, we know about Congletons, but when's the last time anyone talked about Middlewich or anyone talked about Knutsford or Crewe FC? Crewe FC obviously is very much in the shadow of Crewe Alexandra and Style. Yeah. The amount of times that I've driven through Style and kind of know there's a football club there, and you're right. This is like a big barrier around the pitch. That's it. There's no glamour at all about it, but it's just going down there and watching some people do what they love.
Exactly. And you mentioned about the women's game. I remember when I was coaching a WSL side, WSL Prem. I think we were 2 off the WSL top leagues. My girls were paying £5 subs every game.
Yeah,
£5 subs, so we could then provide them with the water bottles, the training stuff. Every bit of money that came in was recycled to get equipment. We were lucky that we were part of a men's football club that were in the EFL, and we played on the main pitch. We had the stand. It was a phenomenal way. So that's how we sold ourselves as a football club. You can play on this ground. But then they paid a signing on fee. With that sign-on fee, they got the tracksuit, so they paid for their own stuff. And I think sometimes you forget, whether it's a Wilmslow FC, a Crewe FC, a Style FC, that you drive past on a Thursday night and you're way home from work and you think, oh, there's a football match going off there. I wonder who that is. These are the type of sides that maybe we shouldn't wonder who's playing. Poke your head in, pop in and see who's there, because that's where the love and the passion for football is born for me.
You'll certainly never get turned away just by turning up at, say, a Style game and just sitting there and watching. The guys with Bolly United FC, Bollington United, with their teams they're going on, they're trying to do a very similar thing in Bollington. They're just trying to get a bit more of a team and people who love football there and get a bit of credence about them. So people actually, I think that's what people need, a bit of like, oh, they're in a certain league, so they are a bit more professional. But I generally think people just don't have the knowledge of these leagues. So hopefully we can, when we speak to people a bit more, get some of the managers from these and some of the players maybe from some of these teams, and just actually what's it like to play at this level? You know, what is there? What do they get out of it? I guarantee it's just the love of the game, because they're all like they've all got other jobs, and imagine they're all part time. They're not getting money from here, so they're getting money from elsewhere. So I think to a different degree than Mac, I think these guys are just coming in from work, going on the pitch and playing football.
Yeah. And the thing is, we've both done it. We've gone to work, we've come home, we've grabbed a slice of bread, a piece of ham, slapped it in, jumped back in car, drove up to training. It's absolutely teaming it down on a Wednesday night. We've got soaked at skin. We've trained for an hour. We've gone at boozer. We've had a pint afterwards. And you know what? We do it every single week because it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I've done all that apart from the going out to go to the training and all that. But I think we lead slightly different life. Yeah, well, I've got a sandwich and then sat on the couch. It's very similar.
The armchair fan, it's great. Well, this is why, as fans, we go to the games, because, I mean, I always got told that those that can play, those that can't coach. Or one was those that can't officiate. And those that can't officiate, I don't know what the next option is. There's got to be an option. One thing I'd like to do, we need to get a referee on this. We need to speak to a local official, because I remember refereeing at like Sunday League football, and I think I always remember my first ever game was in Nottinghamshire, and it was Shirebrook Miners Welfare against Shirebrook Royal British Legion. Sunday morning, I turned up. I remember parking the car. One side was stood on the sideline having a fag. Others were just kicking balls at each other. Manager had got a can of Crest Super Strength in his hand. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what is going to happen here? Within 2 minutes of the game kicking off, I sent the goalkeeper off.
Yeah.
I was 16 years old, refereeing a men's Sunday League match between two sides in the same village. I'd got no choice. The ball's gone over the top. The keeper's come out and absolutely annihilated the striker outside the box. Last man. I've got no option. And he kept saying to me, ref, you can't send me off that. It's the second minute. And I'm like, what do I do then? You tell me what I should do, because there's only one option. And I want to get a referee on from the Cheshire Football League to tell us their experience of refereeing at this level as well.
Yeah. To add to that story, I once refereed a five-a-side. It was just based in Macclesfield. It wasn't anything big. And my advice before the game is watch what you do. Try not to give them any red cards or yellow cards, because they pay to play here. So to keep their membership, it was like, well, I'm the referee. How am I supposed to control this? I guess to a degree, it's kind of similar at Cheshire level, or if they're paying subs to play. I wonder if they're a little bit more reserved to give any cards because of this, because they want to keep them playing in this kind of group, or to keep whichever going. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the nice thing is with us doing this, Scott, is the fact that there's so many different things. We can talk to referees. We're happy to talk to fans of a club. We're happy to talk to a chairman, a secretary, a treasurer, because we forget sometimes as well the people behind the scenes that get the club running, because you've got to have somebody sorting the money out, sorting the fixtures out, phoning referees and oppositions. It's a thankless task being involved in grassroots football.
And I know from seeing some of the social media that Winsford got a lot of volunteers on Tuesday night, to get the game going. And there was, when it wasn't more steward, it was more, extra people on the bar, extra people doing this, that, and the other, the 50-50s, which Robbie Savage actually won. I don't know if you heard that story, but he won the golden goal.
He's not told me that. That's something he would tell me.
He won the golden goal apparently, but he gave the money back to the club and bought them a couple bottles of wine. So, you got to respect that. And Robbie Savage, because he's got his coaching and everything, so he's very much at home in this league. I think with some of these teams, he's not. He loves football for being football. He's not into the big stadiums in the Premier League. Of course, he's had the privilege of playing in them and commentating on them. But at the end of the day, he's a coach, and he'll be more than happy going to the Winsfords or the whatevers of the world. He'll be enjoying that.
Yeah, and
real football, as he said.
Yeah, I remember talking to Robbie about this before pre-season even started, and he was saying he was really looking forward to getting his teeth back into grassroots, because that's where he started. His dad took him to local side playing, and his ambition was to play for Wrexham, because that's where he was brought up. He obviously didn't do bad for himself and kind of eclipsed Wrexham, but
he did all right.
He did all right. Yeah. Steady enough. But finally, then we've got the Cheshire Football League 2, Ed
Yes.
Haslam's debut as Maxfield reserve manager didn't do too bad.
No, and I think Tyler James, this is probably Tyler James, because he played in the B-Tech and he was one of the standouts in the B-Tech, like Rocco was. But yeah, 6 goals from Tyler James and ended up winning 9-0 away at St. Helen Town Reserves. And you know, I was at the game on Saturday, and I saw the result, and I spoke to Ed, who was going to be here tonight, but he went to CBeebies Land instead. I can see. I can.
What a guy.
Did say he was a little bit too old for that, but he went anyway.
He's gone with his kids, Auntie. He's not just gone for he's had some stress relief for himself.
I don't know. That's his choice. I'm not going to judge either way. But yeah, 9-0 away. I don't know about the. I know the reserve team's a young team, and I know the reserve team. The plan is to get as many from the reserves into the first team. And I think with Ed, I think with Bandy, I think it's all a collaborative effort. Obviously, we've seen that Savage is very much hands-on with the team. We're going to have, obviously, we've got the first team and the reserve team, and it's going to be quite succinct. I think we're going to see reserves in the first team definitely this season.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm just looking at the results from some of the other games. Quite a few goals get scored in this league. What on earth is going? Do they not work on? Well, we've questioned whether or not Mac have worked on defending, but do they not work on defending in this league? We've got 2 games with 10 goals, one with 9, one with 5. If you want to watch a game of football where you want to see goals, go into the Cheshire League Division 2.
I know. Obviously, we won 9-0. Nantwich Town Reserves won 7-3. Away at Ashton Town Reserves. And then we had Golborne Sports won 7-3 at home to Hertford FC, and West Disbury and Chorlton Reserves won 4-1 at Runcorn Town Development Team. And it's going to be an interesting league. Do you know what? I love it. Upton Juniors won 3-1 against Sandbach United Reserves. I don't know quite how that works.
Boring game at Avon Villa, just 2-0.
Yeah, 2-0. Yeah. But the Mac reserves are playing again this weekend at Hertford. So the deal is, obviously, when Mac are at home, the Mac Town reserves will be Mac Town reserves. Wow, I've not done that yet. Mac FC reserves. Wow, Mac FC reserves are going to be away, and then when Mac are away, then the Mac reserves will be at home. So you'll be able to see football at the Moss or the Leasing.com stadium either week.
Don't worry, this is
it's hard work.
It is so hard work because I'll do the sports show on a Saturday, and I'll go into a conversation with Richard Patrick about Maxfield Town or FC, and I'm changing, and it's so difficult because to us as fans, it's the same thing just done properly.
I know, but it's weird because I imagine to Rob and Robbie, it's completely not. Yeah. It's completely not Macclesfield Town. It is just Mac FC, which is we're bringing the heritage from the old team, but it's a brand new team, and that's what we kind of keep remembering. I think it's years of saying Mac Town and the Moss. It's still the Star Lane end, so I think it's hard to get into this kind of thing.
It will always be the Moss Rose. It will always be that. I'm from Mansfield, as you know. Do you know what I mean? The One Call Stadium, when the new owner came in, because we had a very similar situation at Mansfield with a tyrant of a previous owner. A new owner with money came in and was exceptional, got the fans on board, was loved. And as the club went into the National League and came back, it will always be Field Mill. Yeah.
I remember that as well. I can't think of his name, but I remember the
Haslam.
Yes, that's the one. Didn't he attend a game at some point? Didn't he stand with the fans and he had to be escorted out or something?
Yeah, he was one of those characters that was arrogant enough to turn up at games and sit with the fans and act as though everything was all honky-dory. I don't think the previous owner of our club would have dared to do that. But I think the difference now is you see the reaction. Look, Rob Smethurst and Robbie Savage ain't going to get everything right. They're not always going to be popular. Things are going to go wrong. There's going to be things brought up, but they're having fans forums because they want to hear the information. Robbie Savage told me yesterday that the most amazing thing that he's got out of the first 2 games is how much love and energy there is in the Siltman supporters. He is absolutely, genuinely, I genuinely believe he is over the moon with the response that the fans have given to the football club.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? We're all passionate Mac fans. I'm from Mac. Obviously, now you're from the area. You're kind of a Mac fan with eyes over other teams.
I've been kind of dragged in. I've been like manipulated, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. I can't even lie.
It's always been a journey being a Mac fan. But yeah, there's so much positivity. We can't argue and say that we're not doing well at the minute. The team, the defense is rubbish and blah blah blah. And I think it's all about these. This is all going to improve. This is the first 2 competitive games ever, and with this team, they're going to improve. Things are going to shuffle around. We're going to get a more of a spine of the team at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. But I think we don't know how this team, and I imagine a lot of Congleton team, for example, they knew how they were going to set up, because that's not the first time they've all played together. They kind of bring players in, and when you have that consistency season on season, you improve on certain players. We've just got a brand new team, put them all together and gone with it. And we haven't got that experience and that we're not there yet to be thinking, okay, this person. So it's now an iterative process. But we'll certainly get there. I think Bandy knows these leagues more than anyone. He'll certainly, we'll get there. Absolutely. And Robbie.
Somebody said to me earlier on that it's like getting all the ingredients for a cake, chuck them in a bowl, whisking it and chucking it in the oven and hoping it comes out all right. And without being disrespectful, we've put a brand new manager in, with a brand new management team, with a guy that, as you say, Bandy knows the league. We've got a director of football who's been there and done everything you can do at football level, at any level. We've got an owner who is very, very business savvy, very clever with what he does. And what a fantastic bar and gym that he's built. Obviously, Stealth Gymnasium, I believe, opens next week for people to walk around. But we've kind of got Robbie Savage, Rob Smethurst, Danny Whitaker, Bandy, is it Anthony Curran, and then a load of players, stuck them all into a dressing room and gone, get out there and win that league. I know there's a lot of more gone behind the scenes, but it's a journey. Every single game is going to be different. Will we win every game this season? Probably not, but we'll be up there.
Yeah. And you know what? I'd almost be a little bit embarrassed if we were putting 5 or 6 against every team. And what's the excitement in walking the league? Having a bit of excitement would be great. Going to places like about Earlham. I think Earlham's coming up this month. I think we've got Barnoldswick Town this month. Forgive me if I'm wrong.
On Bank Holiday Monday.
And it's just kind of like, I don't know, games like that for me is actually, I'm quite looking forward to it. Knowing that actually we can go and potentially win against any of these teams, whereas in the past we'll go and play a Swindon Town or whichever and think we'll be lucky if we get anything from them. There's not really a conversation like that. We have potentially the ability to win against any team in this league. Whether we will or not is another question. But yeah, on paper, we certainly can be competitive in every game this season.
Definitely. And before I let you go, and before we end proceedings for episode 2, because like you, we could sit here for hours and talk Mac, talk football. I've got to ask you, and we're not going to do this very often because our focus is purely on our local sides, but I've got to ask you about the Harry Kane situation. I want your opinion on this because it looks as though Jack Grealish has passed his medical and will be signing for Man City at some point. Yeah. Great move for Jack Grealish. I don't think anybody can fault him for making that move. Is Harry Kane doing this the right way?
No. No, absolutely not.
I don't think he is either.
There's absolutely no respect in, Spurs have signed him. He's played for Spurs many years. The fact is just, I'm not going to turn up to training. I'm going to force my way out of a club. To be honest, I'd say absolutely no respect in that. It's just, have a bit of integrity. The club he's kind of been made through being at Spurs. At least give that club the same back and stay with them or work something out with them. Outside of the talked about 160 million, I think, for him, the price tag, I think as a character and individual, you represent in England, people have just seen you in the Euros. And you've got some credibility from that Euros as well, and from the past World Cup and everything as well. Don't ruin that just because you want to force your way to a bigger team.
No, and I think this is why, for me, I've seen things on social media, which we all do, about people burning Aston Villa shirts. Liverpool did it when Gerrard nearly went to Chelsea. But for me, Jack Grealish has turned up for training on the first day. He's trained with the team. He's spoken with Dean Smith, the manager. He's spoken to his teammates. He's done things the right way. And I'm disappointed with Harry Kane because he's the England captain. Do things the right way, mate.
Yeah, and Grealish has never quite been the most popular person in the world. But yeah, he's done he's done absolutely everything the right way. And, you know, the way in life, you're in a job, you want to get to the top. You know, being a team like City, you're probably guaranteed to win something. You know, if Kane obviously wants a similar experience, he wants to win more trophies. I just think if you do want to do that, then do it. Yeah, do it more respectfully. Don't just not turn up to training. I mean, that's just like someone just not turning up to school because they don't want to do what they want to do. They want to throw in the toys out of the pram or something. It's just
exactly
you're professional football, and kids look up to you, so you need to kind of act like that a little bit.
Yeah, and the reason I bring this up is just to finish on the Maxfield FC scenario. This is a learning curve for us all season, but I think for me, the one test that we've got to come over or overcome as sooner rather than later is the application of attitude to each and in every game, because playing at theleasing.com is one thing. Playing at Winsford on a bit of a miserable Tuesday evening is a completely different scenario. So the way in which the players apply themselves to each game will be the difference, I think, in how quickly. But I do believe when it clicks, somebody's getting hammered. Yeah,
I also think, though, that we're going from playing on our pitch to playing on real grass week on week. So there's bound to be changes different. There's bound to be, you know, they've played all and trained all their games on this. I don't know how many games they've been to where they've played on a pitch. I know they how to play on a pitch, but it's very different than playing on a artificial pitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I absolutely think that someone's in for a thrashing this season. Tom Clare he's got more goals in them. I think Aaron Fleming, he's a great midfielder. You know, going down that left side, I think is great. I think Dwyer's going to get quite a few assists this season as well. And then you've got the Mendy, which, you know, he's got all the power in the world, so it's up to him to be a good footballer. But yeah, I think we've not even seen Eddie yet. And he could be another.
I've seen him in pre-season.
Yeah, in pre-season, but competitive, he's not played a game yet. So, you know, I think there is a lot of talent there, and I think we're only going to get better.
Absolutely. So this weekend, then, it is the Emirates FA Cup. The excitement builds. It's the competition that the world looks at. Litherland. What am I on about? Longridge entertain Northwich Victoria. See, we all do it.
Absolutely.
Victoria. On Sunday, Congleton travel to Emley. I imagine you will be at theleasing.com for a bit of a game.
I'll be at theleasing.com on Saturday, yeah. You know, I don't expect quite as many fans as on Saturday, but I certainly think that it's going to be an interesting game. I don't see a 1-0 in it at all. I think Burscough are going to go for it. That first game's a bit of a, what's it called? A bit of a scouting mission. They know who the big guys are, and they were unlucky again, very unlucky not to pick up something. You know, if it wasn't for not being able to shoot on target a couple of the ones, they would have got at least a goal in that game. I think it's going to be tough.
Definitely going to be tough, and I think speaking to Robbie Savage and Danny Whitaker at the weekend, I think there is possibly 5 or 6 players unavailable for Saturday due to injury and illness. There's a couple of players that we're looking to sign. I don't remember what the ruling is on how long players have to be signed prior to playing the FA Cup. I think it used to be 7 days prior to being able to play, but because it's so early in the season, COVID guidelines and everything, that could change. So we may well see a very different starting lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. And between me and you, Mike, I've seen some of the officials at this level now, and it gives me hope that I could be an official. Yeah, certainly with some of their jiggles that has been going on.
Oh, mate, honestly, it doesn't matter whether you're talking EFL, Premier League, or Northwest Counties or Cheshire Football League. It is exactly the same at every level.
Absolutely.
What are they on?
I absolutely love it.
It's brilliant.
Absolutely love it.
It's all about, mate. Scotty, episode 2 done and dusted. We are looking forward to the FA Cup this weekend. We've got some midweek games as well. I think Northwich Victoria in action midweek. So we will be back next week with Silk Sports Friday Night Football Club, and we will chew the fat, and hopefully we may even have a special guest.
Maybe.
Have to tune in next week to find out.
your station. Silk 106.9.